It's Spoilerin time. I know what you're thinking. Hey, I logged into the Cordkillers feed. What's this show called Spoilerin time? Well, Cordkillers is where we teach you how to watch what you want, when you want, on whatever device you please. This is where we get to enjoy our feast and talk about how we felt about the content that we watched. I'm Brian Brushwood, joined as always on the boards, our producer extraordinaire, Bryce Neshcom Castillo. How are you, Bryce?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Brian?
And of course, from Double Toasted, I just totally ignored your question, didn't I? I had my next thing all queued up. I was excited.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well.
Great.
From Double Toasted, we have Martin Thomas. Thank you for joining us, Martin.
Absolutely.
All right, let's dive in with the summer movie draft. I'm scared to even look. I'm scared to even look, Bryce.
Well, you
how
have
you're
to
doing.
because it is kind of the format of the show. First place, DTNS with $624.9 million. Avengers Infinity War raking it in.
Yeah.
Oh, who got that one?
DTNS.
DTNS, and so here's the funny part: is we have had in the history of the draft, I think was it only once or twice that we had a movie go past 100.
Just once, because I don't think we did it for Rogue One.
We had to institute a new rule of what happens when somebody suspects that one movie is worth more than whatever way they could spend their money. So we realized that once you go up to 100, then you would continue to bid down for a percentage of it. I'll take 100 for $100. I'll take 99% of gross, 98% of gross, and on down. In this case, we all thought it was insane that Tom got Infinity War for $85. We thought that he was out. There was no way one movie would put you in striking distance of winning the whole game. And yet here he is sitting on $624 million total
And
with another movie left to go? Or?
Two movies.
Did he also?
Oh, no, yeah.
No. Breaking
one
In. This is the only reason we have a chance that he won't win is that Breaking In seems to be vastly underperforming.
But
what we were
Hereditary,
expecting.
Really? I thought it was doing better than expected.
I-
It's way past its budget.
I don't know what the Hollywood types are expecting. I know that in our game, we all expected it to do better than
He spent $5 on it, and it's made almost $30 million, which is relatively low. But Avengers is now at the number 5 rank in terms of price per dollar or return per dollar.
That's amazing.
And I think that's high enough that you would need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 to beat it. You gotta, in terms of ratio, right? I think so. You would need a lot of big hitters.
Well, it depends on how many you got. Like, for example, Team Chips Bitch, our friend C. Robert Cargill, he's got a lot of movies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like 10 movies.
Yeah.
So I mean, if just one of them,
he's trying to make it up in volume.
Exactly, exactly.
These Costco chips.
So I got to tell you, the big question will be what Solo does. And originally, we were not bullish on Solo, but if Solo does as well as Rogue One, then Team Cordkillers has a chance to jump straight to the top of the rankings right now.
Yeah,
because they're already at 2 million before, because they got A Quiet Place, which surprised, utterly shocked everyone with how well it did.
Right. I think the reason DTNS is going to run away with it is because all of the wild cards or the movies that could break out or even just do really well are split across the different teams. Like Oceans is on Team Chips, Incredibles is Team John Trekker, Jurassic World is Team Night Attack, Ant-Man is Team Tell It Anyway. First Purge might do well for a horror movie. That's
but
John
still
Trekker.
$16 for it. That was a lot.
Yeah, Night Attack has Skyscraper. Like, I think if you had these big movies, you could beat Avengers, but I don't think them being split across the rest of the teams is gonna do it.
I don't know. We'll find out. Coming up this week, we've got Solo. That's the big story. 65 game dollars to Team Cordkillers. I think it's gonna do way better than anybody expects. I think that all of the complainers for The Last Jedi, folks who said, I didn't like all this new story, I wanted the old story, I think those people are going to be very pleased with Solo, and it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, there's something I could tell you about Solo that might make you feel...
He doesn't die at the end, does he? That'd be a break of continuity.
The thing about Last Jedi is that it's a very polarizing movie.
Correct.
There's some people who love it and say
some
it's
people
their favorite,
hate it.
and some people hate it.
Which team were you on that?
I'm on team right in the middle.
Oh, really?
When people say when some people say it's the worst and the best, I say
Yeah.
you're both wrong.
Yeah.
And some things about it
You're a
are
gray
some of the best
Jedi.
stuff. Yeah.
You have a yellow lightsaber.
And every so often, and Solo manages to fly somewhere in the middle, but on the positive side.
Okay.
Where I'm like, okay, there's nothing in here that's great or earth-shattering.
Kind of safe, maybe.
It's safe.
A little safe. Yeah.
It's safe, but there's nothing in it I could complain about. It's all good. It's just none of it's like, wow. But it's all like, hey, it's solid.
Right on.
Okay.
Right on.
Well, and I think maybe the Star Wars fans need that.
They do.
Need a mellow...
Little TLC.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we can bring them together.
So what's the first thing we're spoiling?
Deadpool. Deadpool 2. The brand new hotness. The Merc with the mouth. He's back.
Okay. Who wants to go first?
I liked Deadpool 2. I'm going to get that out of the way because I know what the second act of this conversation looks like.
well, Bryce, I liked it as well.
Yeah.
I thought it was very funny.
It had big laugh moments.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect the turn that it would actually be Juggernaut who was the...
I didn't expect that either.
They kept him out of all the trailers. The trailers were really well done in that they focused on Cable.
It was one of those twists where once it showed up, I was like, oh yeah, how did I not even think about that? Of course. I kept expecting it to be some character I'd never heard of before. And they did a good job with the trailers in that the trailers actually have scenes that aren't in the movie.
Right.
Which seems to be the thing that
They
Kevin
did that
Feige
for
keeps
Avengers,
pulling.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man Homecoming.
Right,
So yeah, it's a funny movie and I like it. I just don't like it nearly as much as I like the first one.
And now hello, I'm Brian.
Welcome to Act
I will say this: there are the gut-busting moments in Deadpool 2 are better than any of the laughs in Deadpool 1.
I mean,
like
the baby leg scene. They did it.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh wait, okay. Now this is a thing that I keep coming back to. When you say they did it, is that something from the comics?
No,
but they showed his friggin'
Okay, all right. Because I felt the whole time I was watching, I was like, this one really plays to fans of the Deadpool comics much more than the first one.
Okay,
did.
and I'm not like a comics guy. I don't know any of the comic stuff, but I like on a pure comedy level, I thought, okay, well they've covered it with the shirt. They're gonna keep covering, and no, they do the what is it? Not Perfect Strangers. What is
Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Leg,
Yeah, no, I thought the
love when they
Baby
do
Legs thing
that.
was really funny. I just thought it went on too long.
Yeah, okay. That's my criticism of the movie. There, so many.
As long as we're
sequences that are
heaping
too
on
long.
praise, that final mid credits roll thing where he's like, oh psych, the time machine that only works twice. Let's just have to do unlimited, and him going through, him putting a bullet in Ryan Reynolds' head.
Oh no, that was I thought that was
amazing.
one of if not the funniest joke was the jokes in the stinger. I was
Yes.
like, wow, this is the best stinger ever done.
And going all out was great. However, it was the absurdness. I feel like there exists in an alternate universe some version of this that managed to be as funny, but also at some point is able to pull that magic trick where halfway through a fight scene you realize, oh wait, this has been fun and funny, but this is a freaking great fight scene and I'm really into this or whatever. And I never got there on this. This felt very flat and cartoonish. And it's fine to be cartoonish if you take me along for the ride. I felt like they undercut part of what worked for the original Deadpool was that I genuinely believed the empty abyss of pain inside of
Wade Wilson.
Wade Wilson? Yeah, I was gonna say Wade Watts. That's the Ready Player One. Wade Wilson. Like that's what made the decision bold to laugh in the face of death, to laugh in the face of his own pain, and to mock himself. Like it was poignant and bittersweet, and that's what hooked me in. There was none of this. I mean, his freaking fiance, wife, girlfriend, whatever, just gets shot, and he's just like, whatever, time to be crazy. And
Well, okay,
he kills himself because of it. Like,
yeah, there's that. I guess I didn't see it that way, but touching on the fiance, girlfriend, Vanessa, one of the things that surprised me that I love so much was, and I keep saying this over and over because every time I think about it, it bothers me, what a well-developed character Vanessa was in the first. She was a great counterpart to him.
Yeah.
That back and forth of the believing of the romance. So when he does get sick, it's really genuinely heartbreaking. And she stays in there as such a great character. And they so rarely write the female characters that well to where you look forward to seeing them as much as the hero. They are just a damsel in distress. And here they fridge her right off the bat. She's just dead just to spur him on to do things.
And without like, was it even the same guys? I mean, did it matter? It was just faceless bad guys coming.
Faceless bad guys, and she's in this movie. She's relegated to being a device, and that's what so many of the other characters were. Cable. He's so generic he's such a generic Terminator character that he's just a device.
And then he just shrugs and be like, I guess we're cool.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Which I too enjoyed the surprise of finding out as Juggernaut, but again, that was undercut when 30 seconds later they shove a tube up his butt, and it's like that's not what you do to the Incredible Hulk or to a credible, terrifying.
They had
the tone of this movie. It worked okay.
I think those two moments were maybe 20 or 30 minutes separated,
Yeah.
and there is a whole fight scene with the Iron Guy and Juggernaut.
Colossus.
The Iron Guy. No, he's called Iron Guy. He's Iron Guy Pierce. That's his name.
I think they definitely sort of snip that loose thread in the bud very quickly by bringing in the other girls and kind of wrapping him up in a nice little bow, sort of with that. So I see where you're coming from on that.
Let me put it this way, and it's fine for me to be wrong, because when it's funny, it's very, very funny, and it definitely succeeds on the funny side, right?
Yeah.
We all agree with that.
Yeah.
However, there was an awful lot of telling me instead of not necessarily even showing me, just making me feel like you shouldn't have to tell me, oh, that big sound, that's going to be in the third act. He'll be a big guy. Get ready for it. Like, that's a fine self-referential joke, but it undercuts any sense of looming dread I might have had about about that place. I didn't feel the despair about it because there was this constant undercutting with the comedy, and that I don't even have a solution for them. That's just what I felt in the experience.
Well, it is a just pour on more jokes and more jokes and more jokes, and even the jokes that undercut the story that we got going, rather than carefully crafting the thing. I mean, they repeated a lot of jokes, even jokes from the first one, jokes they told in the first act, they retold them in the third act, and it wasn't callbacks. It's just repeating a joke.
Yeah,
and that was weird because I was like, man, this was always smarter than that. And there's a lot of jokes that fall just flat. And I was talking about this, how there's that joke when they're all walking into like the last big dust up, and Deadpool tells a joke that the audience I was with, nobody laughed. I was like,
yeah, there was
a
number of moments that you could feel the awkward silence.
Yes, it was awkward silence. None of the other characters even reacted to even cock their eyes. And then Deadpool just says, well, I wish I could go back in time to retell that joke. And not tell that joke, and it's like, well, yeah, it's like,
you're like, you have the power of editing, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Like your name is literally listed as scriptwriter.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah. Every time he went, no, that's just lazy writing. It's like yeah.
It sure is.
At the point you don't acknowledge that, so we go like, oh, I'm like, fucking fix it.
And I think it's tough to play the ironic lazy writing joke when your movie is 2 hours long.
Yeah.
When you have said, we're gonna give every joke we can, and saying, oh well, we're kind of rushing the plot along. Well, you don't have enough plot to fill this time. You shouldn't need to rush it. So yeah, I think it doesn't play.
I said I don't have any solutions for this movie, but I think I do. Just try this on for size, right?
Okay.
So I keep the opening exactly how it is, because the whole opening, their big play was, oh my God, we killed the girlfriend before the credits even roll. The credits are all about, holy shit, look what just happened, right?
Yeah.
From that point forward, snap forward and just tell me Cable's story from Cable's perspective, unironically. Start in the future, make me believe of what a disaster has happened, and then realize that this is the one chance. This is a one-way trip, except for you can use this to get back. And then make me respect Cable, and then mash it up with the madcap situation. Like, I think I would have been totally on board on that, but there was never a long enough stretch of anybody taking anything seriously so that I could be surprised by the gotchas.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that illustrates an issue with Deadpool as like a feature film subject, in that if he's going to keep poking at the story and poking at the plot and all, it's tough to have any serious. It's tough to make that feel serious all the time.
Yes, but it just means you need to write a better story structure underneath,
Yeah.
so that when he does poke at it, it makes more sense. I love what you came up with, because then you really do feel like, man, Deadpool, you're funny, but you're getting in the way.
Yeah, right. Well,
It's but it's a good kind of frustrating.
And also, it would be a good way for us to, when we do come back to time, now let's see Deadpool, drunk in a bar, clearly lost his mind, in despair or whatever. So that all that would be implied. You're welcome, Ryan Reynolds. Send me my check for Deadpool 3.
Now, that said, everything with X-Force was hilarious.
Yeah.
And Domino is such a great
incredible.
character. Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, almost all the side characters are really good in this film. Domino.
I think that's what made me
Pindor.
resent them. Just granted they fixed in the end part, but the fact that they just dispose of them like, yeah. So anyway, they're all dead. Whatever. I was just like, man, you were onto something. I would have really enjoyed trying to see this work.
Nah, those characters are dumb.
Oh no, I would have loved. But would you have loved to see them try to make it happen?
I mean,
shabby.
It would have been nice to see a little bit more of them. But it was ballsy and funny to have them die on.
And it's tough because you get through them quickly in this audition process, and you kind of build them up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's not super quick, and we're not attached to them yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that whole the hubris in them. Okay, we're gonna dive out of an airplane. I was just like, the whole time watching it, not knowing they were gonna die, I was like, really? This seems completely inefficient for what you guys are doing. So that ends up killing them in the most mundane ways. I thought was funny, but they kept Domino, and it made her shine.
Oh yeah,
I understand that there are logistical realities that would make this challenging, but after Deadpool 1 did so well at the box office that it made possible the opening up of rated R superhero movies. It brought us Logan, and for that I owe it a deep debt. I would think that as a reward for that, they might be willing to spend the money to do something crazy, like after the entire movie of, again, same joke, same location. It's the Professor X's house, and yet nobody's in there. And they did do that little wink with everyone's hiding in the room or whatever. Right. But how amazing would it have been if third act, somebody whistles and just it turns into an X-Men movie at the end.
And the thing is, I kept expecting that to happen.
I wanted that so bad, right?
Me too. Because I was really annoyed that we've also added this other X-Man, Yuki, which was just so Deadpool could tell the same joke 3 or 4 times.
With something
"Hi,
sushi.
Yuki." Yeah. It's like, all right, so, nothing new. This is going to be the same.
You're a weeaboo.
Yeah.
What do you think about all of the guest appearances, all the cameos? You had Alan Tudyk and
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon as the
Brad Pitt.
And Brad Pitt was the Vanisher.
Yeah.
Fun little, very quick pops.
They are so quick that I didn't even recognize that was Matt Damon and Alan Tudyk till I saw it in the credits.
Yep, I missed it as well. And that is that our fault?
Oh well, I
don't think
none of us
to blame.
noticed it. It's not a fault. I'm always looking at fault.
Sure, and this is why I'm a bad person, is because if I feel something, I'm just like, pilot's not driving this right, because I didn't feel that.
But Brad Pitt, I did catch. But it was one of those like, was that Brad Pitt?
Yeah. Good. I give it a good. Not as good as the first one, and I'm mainly. I don't want to fault it for what it is. I just lament what I had hoped it could be.
Sure. Because with the first one, I ran out and resaw it again in a theater, and even took my kids to see it. I'm like, yeah, you guys are too young to watch this, but you're gonna love this movie. It's gonna be awesome. And I've seen it 3 more times since then. And it's one of those movies. Every time I watch it, I catch something that I hadn't seen before. And when this one was done, I was like, well, that was fun. And I didn't have that desire to run it and see it again.
Yeah,
I'll catch it whenever.
Unlike, definitely watched Infinity War 3 times in the same week. All right, so what else we got on the agenda? Oh, let's talk Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai. So, Martin, you haven't seen
Cobra Kai. Should I just go
Kai.
la 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 la?
You saw Karate Kid.
I did. Many years, decades ago.
Here's the important thing. Less than do you remember what happened, do you remember how you felt during it?
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
As long as you remember how iconic those scenes are, you get just enough of the replays in all of Cobra Kai to really go along for the ride.
You know what sticks in my mind mostly about Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Is everyone's dissecting it after the fact and bringing up the fact that Daniel won by doing the very thing they said you can't do.
Yeah,
They
illegal.
address that.
Okay, because that changes the whole movie.
You
for me.
get to see Johnny say to Daniel, they're like, oh yeah, no, they run into each other. Daniel is insufferable. He's insufferably smug, wealthy, rich auto dealer. Johnny is your hero. He's a working schlub. It starts off looking like They Live, right? Whereas he's just doing odd jobs trying to make stuff happen. In fact, that'd be great if they had the 15-minute fight sequence between Danny LaRusso and Johnny. But along the way, he casually mentions like, "Oh man, so and so that year that I won the All Valley." He was like, "Yeah, with an illegal hit." He's like, "Well, you hit me in the knee." He's like, "Yeah, I got a warning. You got the title." And it just was this awkward like, "Oh yeah, that is bullshit, isn't it?" Right? So. What was it like not having seen The Karate Kid, watching the spattering of episodes?
Also, yeah, I didn't even see Cobra Kai. Technically, I watched about 5 episodes.
You took a tour of Cobra Kai.
You know what? It was not a bad way to watch Cobra Kai, to go 1 to 2 to 3 to 10 to 9 and then to 8. It's a jump around.
Because you got more questions. For example, you had the experience of all of a sudden there's this random Mohawk dude kicking ass. Yeah. And you're like, who's this guy?
Who's that guy?
And then you realize it's the hair lip nerd from episode 3.
Episode 3, yeah. And then I went back and it's like, the whole reason he did it was so people wouldn't talk about the hair lip or notice it. And I totally didn't at all, even though he still has it. It was a really interesting way to watch this show. I enjoyed what I really liked watching episode 10 was that I had no idea who was going to win. They do the big All Valley karate tournament again, and it ends up being
Johnny Student versus Daniel Student
Daniel Student, who is Johnny's son.
Yeah, that's the awkward Johnny's son.
Wait, I thought Danny was a car dealer.
He is, but he loves mentoring youth and teaching them karate. He's picked up the mat.
Johnny's estranged from his son.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Johnny, and this is the other thing is when you watch, the feeling you have when you saw Karate Kid is that Johnny is the smug, have-it-all, rich kid. But then you find out in this show that no, he had a stepfather who was rich, but he was in a broken home and a mom who was just trying to get her son fed, and he grew up in a loveless household, which is why he's so broken in the head. And it's like you really pity his upbringing, and it's like it's amazing. It's amazing to find yourself cheering for him.
And so, getting into that final bout, I really didn't know who was going to win.
I didn't know who I wanted to win because they were both flawed. One of them, you see this beat up, kicked around millennial nerd who begins saying like, "Oh, violence never solves anything. I'm just getting beat up by everyone." And you're like, no, you got to hit something. You got to strike first, strike hard, no mercy, right? Like you actually are cheering for him to get the Cobra Kai experience. And then at some point, he gets really far into the Cobra Kai experience. And you're like, well, I don't know how I feel about this. And then meanwhile, Johnny's kid is a piece of dirt. And you're like, you know what? You could probably learn some stuff from Mr. LaRusso. And then when they fight, you're like, I don't know who I want to have win or how I want this to go. And the fact that they thread that needle appropriately in a way that makes sense and leaves you with the complicated feling. And by the way, all of this should be understood. It feels like Melrose Place is the production quality of everything. It's very cheap and the writing is cheesy, but it's so on the nose. It is a blast. I find myself laughing.
They're good. The comedy writing is surprisingly good for a YouTube show.
A lot of those moments that they set you up thinking they're making a reference and then they don't. Like there's Daniel Russo student in the finals has an injured shoulder and then he has a chance. He's like, well, do you want to do this or not? And he's like, yeah, I do. And he goes, medic, is there a medic? like totally setting up the Miyagi thing and then just throwing it away the moment you think it's happening.
So I will say that the way they leave it off for a second season, I think is equally ambiguous in the good, for the good, in that they're now setting up dueling dojos, and we have a sense that Johnny wants to be doing better than he did to make these kids, use their skills for good and not for evil or whatever. But
Oh, so you did not see the best scene of the entire thing?
Maybe which is the best scene?
The you have a through thread in the whole like first 5-6 episodes of this whole 21st century millennial culture where the nature of bullying has changed. It's not about just beating people up; it's about abusing them on social media and so on, right? And figuring out and also the way schools and sensitivity training has changed, moved the goalposts and all that stuff. And there's this tension built up, and you're watching this nerd kid get better and better as he learns, under the drunken tutelage. Because that's the other thing is there's so much drunk driving without consequences in this show. Everybody drives like drunk, and the one crash is because somebody was distracted driving.
The kid was texting, yeah.
So I mean, all of this is intentional. It's meant to make different ages feel uncomfortable with stuff.
Yeah.
But it all comes to a head at one point when the kid snaps and defends himself at lunch because somebody the bullies are doing their bully thing, and the question is like, well, it's not like you can just go up and hit him. And then Johnny's like, why not? Just punch him. I don't get it. And you find yourself like, yeah, just punch them. And then he gets up and he starts kicking all the ass. And of course, by the time it's over, there's 37 different cameras on him, and it becomes like this huge ad for Cobra Kai, this viral sensation. All of a sudden, he's got the most popular dojo. It's a blast. It's a trip. It's fun. It's cheesy. I love everything about it.
It sounds awesome.
I can't wait to.
I really like that it's not a clear-cut morality.
Yeah.
Black and white sort of thing. I really enjoyed that. It leaves you questioning.
It's the revisionist world we live in now.
Sure.
Yeah, well, and it's if there's a character you think is good, they figure out a way for you to think, is he? And then if there's a girl you think is good, you're like, is she?
Yeah, I mean Miguel. I think that's the Johnny Student's like. In that 10th episode, he looks snapped.
Yeah,
he looks like he is just lost. The innocence.
And the funny part is, up until that moment that you're not comfortable with it, you are cheering for the Cobra Kai nerds every step of the way. It's like, no, you're getting tough. Do this. This is great. And then it's like, oh, you're the bullies now. How did I miss that?
There's an old movie called Massacre at Central High that you would love.
Yeah,
where it's a horror movie, but it's where a kid from outside comes to the new high school, sees his old buddy. And his buddy is part of the rich kids who are bullies. And they bully all the nerds and misfits. Mm-hmm. And his bully friends are like, hey, you're going to join with us, right? And the guy's like, I'd just rather be a loner. And they push the issue where they drop a car on his leg. Ugh. So he's like, okay, fine, this.
Yeah.
He starts doing these diabolical murders and killing all
no!
the rich kids. So once he's killed enough of them, then the bullies ascend and take over the school, and then they turn out to be bigger assholes than the bullies were.
Oh my God.
So he's like, all right, well, I guess I got to start killing you guys off now.
Oh, that's amazing.
That sounds like Heathers. A little bit.
A little bit. This was, I think this movie's from 1978 or 1979.
Okay. But yeah, that sort of turn it around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Well, I highly recommend it. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. Any other comments on Cobra Kai?
Go ahead.
Oh, quick question about it.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like you would get more, like you don't have to, but you would get more out of it if you watch the original Karate Kid first before watching.
I think it will allow you all the psychological, emotional backdoors that they manipulate to good effect, right? Because I don't know how good Cobra Kai was if you didn't know how much you should hate Johnny.
Right.
And the fact that the whole first episode is just his story, I was like, wow, what a fascinating feeling. What I plan to do for my kids, and there's some adult stuff, they draw boners, and there's F words and S words and so on.
And
my kids are 17 and 20. But the more you talk about it, I'm like, I want to watch this with them.
Exactly. I plan to force my 14-year-old to watch Karate Kid, and then just go straight into watching Cobra Kai.
And there were little things that I knew I had. So I had not seen Karate Kid.
Yeah.
But there were things I knew watching these episodes. I'm like, okay, this is clearly a callback. I was supposed to get something out of this, and I definitely did not. The one I can think of is the skeleton costume in the third episode.
Yeah.
It's it's a skeleton costume. But
it's the nerd kid dresses exactly like Johnny did in the original.
Okay, so my question is, since it does help to watch the first one, do they touch on anything from Karate Kid 2?
No, and although this is one of my suspicions, right? My question is, they casually mention Because you remember after Karate Kid 1, he gets the girl, and then Karate Kid 2, they're just broken up or whatever.
Right.
There's a moment where like Johnny and Daniel have a moment bonding over Allie. That was the girl's name.
Right.
And at some point, Daniel's like, yeah, no, she's a neurosurgeon over in so-and-so now, and shows a picture. He's like, well, what's she look like? He goes, I don't know. You have to be a friend to on Facebook to see it. And Johnny... The best part is they represent Johnny as if he just teleported from the early 80s. He's like, what's Facebook? But the fact that they share this moment, like this is the girl that got away from both of them for whatever reason, was kind of tender. I think you'll like it quite a bit.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Very cool.
Cobra Kai, I guess that's it for Spoilerin time. Don't forget to join us next week, every Monday, starting at 6 Central, right here at
Twitch.tv/Night Attack.
That's
also
the one.
Green Carrot at DiamondClub.tv.
Tom
Merritt will be back, who can say all of this stuff by memory.
That's right. Hey, man, I did a fine job of standing in.
You did a very good job. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.